For today's video, I'm going to be piloting a version of Aggro Assassin, specifically one that is running a pair of the new monthly reward card Sentinel Reclaimer, because I think that this card has the potential to find a home in a list like this, where you're trying to take advantage of expertise, maybe trying to take advantage of something like Swift Strike combined with items for some big time burst, so on and so on. Now, there's also a fair number of charge creatures in here between Cliff Racer and Opportunist to throw those items on, and I think that it's at least worth testing, and so that's what this video series is all about, deck testing after all. So we're going to continue to do what we always do. We're going to take the deck, jump on the ladder, we're going to play 2 games, win or lose, and see how it goes. Personally, I feel like Aggro Assassin is in a really good spot right now. I think it has the potential to be a powerful deck on the ladder, because it can get underneath some things, and then even if it starts to stall out, as long as they don't have a lot of health gain, there's a large number of reach, as I apparently only run into reach in my opening hand, so we're going to fast mulligan every one of those cards. But yes, I do feel like this is the kind of deck that has the potential to be very potent. Now, that being said, I'm not convinced that this specific list is the right list. I feel like there's probably better ones. There were a couple of cards that we were trying to test out and include in this package to make better use of this Sentinel Reclaimer, for example. We're going to do this, but I actually think I'm going to take the Pilfer, because we're really only punished if they throw an item that's not a dagger on this, or
the Fighters Guild stands.
Alright, so the guard kind of punishes us. I was going to say, or another way that we could potentially get punished would be like Wardcrafter trade. Something in that vein. We're going to go ahead and play the Reclaimer, which will maybe set us up next turn for something like, we could go like Guildsworn into Pawnbroker, and if the 0 cost is not a creature, that would trigger the expertise here. Another option would be just to play Wayfarer, and then maybe something like a dagger or a steel sword, maybe saving this for later. We've got a lot of flexibility here.
The Oriole do not waste time chatting with mortals.
Okay, so they are gonna just dominate our board position here. Interesting, they could have played the dagger here,
To oblivion.
but they choose not to.
I fear no man.
So the decision we have to make is, do we want to take the risk that we get the +1 from the Pawnbroker? That is ultimately what we're hoping for. Otherwise, Steel Dagger means that this guarantees a trade, and that this goes to 3/3. And we do need to slow them down at least a little bit here. I think that that's going to just end up being better for us. Let's go ahead and do that. This will become a 3/3. We're going Shadow Lane because we know that they do still have the Steel Dagger in hand, so playing at Field Lane means that they get an easy trade in and maintain initiative.
Pay in kind.
The Fighters Guild stands ever ready.
And these apprentices are wrestling away control of that Field Lane very effectively from us. So again, we can take the risk on Pawnbroker here,
I fear no man.
if we want. We just have to hope it's not a creature. Like, quite honestly, anything not a creature.
Have business with House Halalu.
Alright, that's not exactly the one that we were hoping for. I think we still do it, though. This gets the damage in. And they'll both grow. Now the issue, though, is that they have a lot of potential for slowing us down here with another item and then trading in with Ward. They could just straight have Lightning Bolt.
Well, let's see if we can find something useful.
So this is going to be a Steel Sword coming off of Sentinel Reclaimer on their side.
Out of my sight.
So that'll prove to be very effective, and we are still behind
Do your worst.
in this face race, which is not really where we want to be. Now we could start fighting for the board. That's not really what our deck is good at. It's not really what our deck is good at. So I actually think that we're going to just start going face. And we're going to make them trade with us as opposed to the other way around. So we're going to do this. Kinsman's pretty decent for us because of the burst damage and the health gain. Yeah, I don't think with our hand, and let's be honest, just the way that this deck is built, fighting for control of the board for some kind of like long attrition game, it's just not what this deck is built for. It's built for going face. So at some point, you just kind of have to turn a corner and hope. That's going to be a problem. Oi. Do not have a good answer for that.
Out of my sight.
Let's put these to use.
Kneel before the saints.
Don't underestimate me.
Not sure what we're going to do to get through that battle
This
range.
one will hunt you down.
Even more dire. So this is just a really interesting, like, item-based guild sworn. And I'm going to be honest, gang. I'm very envious of this list.
I keep a spare blade in my boot.
Well, I mean, we gotta go through that one way or the other.
Lord, Mother, and Wizard. I see their strategy.
So we do this, but it's not ideal. They got a lot of damage on the board. They have a lot of magicka as well to answer, and they're very clearly an item-based deck. So they probably have a lot of burst in hand. I don't think we're gonna win this. I think this is just gonna be a case of falling behind early and being punished for it. Because Crown Quartermaster is great turn one. This is actually, even though I'm going to lose this is actually a great teaching game because this shows you why the Ring of Magicka is not necessarily as crazy imbalanced as a lot of people like to think or assume at times, because the reality is, as long as you have the right one drops, sufficient one drops, you can offset the supposed imbalance of this pretty heavily.
Kneel before the saints.
I'm ready for you.
All right. So we have
Let's put these
been
to use.
felled in our first game. I really like the opponent's list there, though. Obviously, I play a version of Guildsworn that is a little bit different. I play one that's more token-based. But the idea of something maybe heavily ward-based like they were using, and then using items to take advantage of the wards for trading is pretty cool. Right? Like you could, maybe instead of it being turbo aggressive, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of aggressive cards there, but you could even transition it to a decent mid-range list, in theory, just because with all the items it would be very easy to trigger something like Mighty Conjuring, for example. Getting to 5 power when you have a bunch of steel swords running around in your deck is likely pretty easy. So this time we do not have the ring, but we have a 1-drop. Our 1-drop's a little less impressive than a Quartermaster, but it's important to do something. Curse! Halalu opening up just with a curse, huh? Okay. Well, let's hope they don't have another one, I guess. Let's hope they aren't rocking 2 in-hand main deck curses. Nope, but they have a Murkwater Witch. Okay, well. It says an awful lot about the kind of opponent we're playing against, so we're going to go ahead and just do this. we don't have good ways to trigger the Wayfarer at the moment. Wouldn't be shocked if this ends up beating like crushing blow here at the way things are going. Oh, is it going to be like rapid shot into Murkwater Witch into curses?
I only need one shot.
Nope, but I'm not far off in my kind of hilarity here.
Wrong side.
They cannot
do
help
that.
you out with me.
Could have bolted this to maybe protect it, but I got a feeling a deck like this has a million ways to deal 1 damage to this, so yeah, they're not even trading there, right? I mean, this is a deck, just based on what I'm seeing here, this is a deck that's running Skaven Pyromancers and Cradle Crush. I mean, they were running main deck Curse, gang, and Murkwater Witch. They are all in on ways to deal 1 damage, so using a Lightning Bolt to maybe defend that, not so good. Hey, look, Tiny Dragon. And I mentioned they're all in on those 1 damage sources. Biggest issue is we need to get through this at some point. Hey, drain vitality. They really are.
Last battlefield.
Really are on this like -1/-1 roleplay, gang. They probably run Leaf Lurker, which means I should likely not get rid of that. But they'll probably have a million ways to ping it too, and we need to open ourselves back up in the field lane. I think we do this. Argument to be made about maybe I just continue pushing face, but again, they would just use these two, run into it, and then they've got to have a source of 1 damage somewhere. So it's like you deal 4 to guaranteed lose this, or you maybe make them deal with something over here. Now that is also a bit of a problem, so it would seem. That goes down to 4. If I play this, it'll go down to 3.
This day is mine.
Still let us draw cards. Oh, boo. We would have had a Lightning Bolt Prophecy there. So, the good news is they're going to break a rune. Bad news is that Undying Dragon is perhaps just going to single-handedly win them the game, because we do not have a good answer for it in a list like this. I mean, at least not for 2 turns where we would have to like double Lightning Bolt it. Oh my. This is just pings and dragons. It's rather interesting, actually. Just pings and dragons, huh? Well, let's do this just to cycle.
This might be.
And I guess do that, because at some point we need to deal 1 damage to this so that a Lightning Bolt will finish it off, but until that happens, we gotta keep doing what we're doing. But I got a feeling we're gonna go 0-2 today. And I don't think there's much we can do to stop it. So they're at 20. We have access to, what is this, like 7 extra bursts, so we're still far away from lethal. We can only deal like a maximum of 13 in 1 turn. That is also going to be a bit of a problem. And they've got the curse. Holy cow! 2 main deck curses. And just like that, we're just dead, right?
Well, let's see if we can find something useful.
Alright, well, we'll do something like this. Maybe this buys us enough time, but let's be honest, we're dead. We are DEA dead. somebody call the DEA. Because we need some support. Oh, and they have an execute. Well, GG. Yeah, a lot of pings and removal. And life gain slash dragons. That'll get the job done every time, gang. There is no saving us unless we hit magically a prophecy that just does not exist in our deck. That is it. 0-2. Well, I did say earlier I don't feel like this particular list is the right way to play Aggro Assassin. But I was trying to make the expertise package work a little bit better with the monthly reward card. I like to experiment when it's the beginning of the month like this because, you know, as I said, you can always climb to legend later, right? Like, there's no rush unless you're trying to be somebody who finishes like top 10 or something, and that's just never going to be me. So for me, there's no rush. I like to try new things, kind of get a feel. There's a lot of burst potential in a list like this, but the burst potential doesn't matter if your opponents keep healing. And what's interesting is I'm running into a lot of stuff, you know, as I've been playing games, where life gain is the focus and not nearly as much like removal. It's weird. Like, the community as a whole feels very aggressive toward Elfite Conjurer. I see complaints almost daily, whether it's Reddit or the forums or Twitter, about Elfite Conjurer and Battle Mage and the things that deck does. But then when I go on the ladder, I almost never run into that deck. And even when I do, I feel like, I don't know, I don't struggle as much against that deck as I do other ones. But instead, lately, it's been an awful lot of decks that just run a ton of control tools and life gain, which is weird because that's the kind of deck that Elfite Conjurer, I think, punishes very well, right? Decks with a strong mid game and a strong board presence where the life gain seems to matter significantly less. So I don't know, it's just interesting because maybe it's just the past few days, but so far, so since the beginning of August, my ladder experience has not been reflective of community complaints, which I find to be very, very interesting. But that's it for this video anyway. I just wanted to go off on a little bit of a tangent because I can count on one hand the number of times I've played against mid Battle Mage and or seen Elfite Conjurer since the season reset. But I've been seeing an awful lot of control, like, out of nowhere. It had disappeared for me almost all last month. And then all of a sudden, I'm just seeing a bunch of it. So, anyway, that's it for this video. I think tomorrow we'll try playing some control. I think we're going to play the Wax Wayne Support Monk and give that a go. I'm sure I will do horribly. I have never piloted that deck. I've done some Wax Wayne stuff, but not the support version. So tomorrow should be fun. But anyway, if you made it this far and you listened to all of my ranting, thanks for watching, and until next time, may you walk on warm sands.